I also wanted to thank our community partners, Brookline Interactive Group, who will be streaming this program through Facebook, YouTube, and local cable channel 3 on RC. Always consult your physician before beginning any exercise program. The creators, teachers, and producers assume no responsibility for injuries from participation in this program.
Hi, good morning. Let's sit up nice and tall in our chair. Just lean a little from one side to the other and allow the body to extend up as you lean. Kind of like you're leaning a little bit, but it's more like you're leaning up at the same time. So notice I'm just moving a little bit from side to side, just a little bit. And there's this rocking underneath where the sitting bones are. The sitting bones are going back and forth, one side to the other. Just a little, starting to center ourselves right in our chair and right in the middle so that our spine is straight up and down. So we stop rocking slowly until we come to this straightness and sitting up nice and tall. And let's take a couple of breaths. Feel free to rest a hand on the belly here so you'll feel the belly moving with the breath. So this is our diaphragmatic breathing. Diaphragmatic breathing. And when we use the diaphragm and we really expand the lungs, it pushes everything underneath it. All the internal organs move a little bit down, as well as the intestines. So everything starts to move, get a little massaging, a little moving going down below here in the torso. Not just the lungs. And I'm nice and balanced. I feel balanced in the feet. So notice the bottoms of the feet. Think about, do I feel balanced? And if not, see if you can adjust yourself a little bit. Lean maybe. So we all have a tendency to be asymmetrical. So we're not the same on each side. Down of the head lifting up a little towards the sky. And then as I exhale, I keep that extension, that elongation of the spine, and at the same time release. Allow everything else to kind of move down that's to the sides of the spine so that I'm feeling grounded into the earth. And we'll do a little warm up with the arms to get the breath and the movement going. We'll bring our palms together like this. We'll inhale and we'll circle the hands around. So this is what we call our sun breath. And as we do this, you have a choice of where exactly you're sitting in the chair relative to the back of the chair. So you could be forward. I'm not touching the back of the chair right now. Or you could, if you need the support for the back, if you're a little tired, or you want to keep this, be able to elongate the spine and keep it elongated so that we don't start to collapse. When we get tired, this is what happens. And that's normal. We get tired, we all do it. We collapse the back. So if you need to, slide all the way back. And when all the way means the back of the buttocks is touching the back of the chair. So you're right near at the base of the spine. And then you're extending the spine up. So there's a little gap between the lumbar area and the back of the chair, but the thoracic spine, the shoulder blades are just below the shoulder blades, and the top of the buttocks is touching the back of the chair. If you need support for the lumbar, it'd be nice to put a pillow. I don't have a pillow, but I have a blanket. And that's a great way to then feel the back along the whole, being supported by the entire back of the chair. So you can see the approximate position of the blanket because the ends stick out. So it's really the bottom of the support, the bottom of the pillow is just above the top of the buttocks. And then the top is right around the bottom of the rib cage. So my lower ribs are right about here. And you'll see the top of the blanket is just above those. So it fills in that gap. And let's come back to our sun breath, inhaling and circling the arms around. And then we'll bring the palms together and then exhale, let the hands float down, flip the palms up, and then lift the hands up. This is a nice practice where you could close the eyes and rely on your feeling of the body. You could try that. So the first step is, if you don't want to close your eyes all the way, is to close them partially. So close them a little so you're sort of squinting out of the eyes, but try to keep the eyes relaxed when you do that. So we'd like even though we're closing the eyes, we want to keep this area in the face and around the eyes soft. So I can actually, my eyes might look shut, but I can actually see a little bit through the slit of my eyes here. And I'm inhaling, and then the hands are floating up, the palms are coming together, and I feel them coming together. I feel the fingers touching, and then the hands float down. You could adjust the speed of the breath. If you want to be a little more energized, try breathing slightly faster. And if you want to be more relaxed, if you need to relax right now, try breathing a little slower. Think calmness, slowness, even slowness of the arms as you circle around. So it's whatever we bring to our practice, and then we modify it to fit where we want to be at the time. It happens to be, at least in my house, it's relatively cold. So a little slightly faster movements is good. If you're in a place, if you have a lot of heat in your house, or you live in a climate where it's quite warm, you might want to slow things down to reduce the heat, make it more pleasant. And then we'll bring the palms together and we'll take a few breaths, some cactus breaths like this. Remembering you can adjust how high the hands and the elbows are. Elbows no higher than the shoulders. Inhaling. The nice thing, if you're using the back of the chair here, is when you inhale, you can lean back ever so slightly, and it helps to broaden the heart area and the chest area here. Try not to drop the head backwards when you do that. There's a tendency to let it kind of fall back. Try to keep it relatively straight. A little bit's okay. You always want to be very gentle with the neck. The neck is, it's sensitive. The vertebrae in the neck are small, and we want to be kind to our necks. We want them to last a long time. And one more time, inhaling. And this time, give yourself a little wrap, a little hug like this. Perhaps beginning with the elbows and then working your way a little more tightly up the body, from the elbows to the triceps, and then from the triceps to the shoulders. And at some point, it's going to be uncomfortable. So that's, you might want to go back one notch so that it's not uncomfortable. You still want to be able to breathe with some ease here. And then we'll wrap ourselves up one more time. Pause there for a moment. Sit up tall as you breathe in. And then give a little sigh as you breathe out, and release the chin down slightly. And then inhale, and then wrap the other side. Make sure the other arm is on top. And inhale, and exhale, soften the chin. So I'm just releasing the chin down, letting the weight of the head. But the back is still pretty straight here. I'm not rounding, I'm not collapsing forward. And then let's bring open and then lower the hands down and roll the shoulders a few times. And roll one shoulder and then the other. And then the other way. As you roll the shoulders, think about one shoulder's going up and the other one's relaxing down. So I'm letting go totally of the effort in one shoulder. It's just softening, moving down. You can see the space, get a big space between the shoulder and the bottom of the ear. And the other one's lifting up. And then release the arms. Let the arms hang down and extend the spine up as the arms hang down. So let's come back to our seated mountain pose again. See if it's any easier. See if you get a little more feeling of lifting as we begin to warm the body up, warm the back up. So I'm going to get rid of the support, but you're welcome to keep your support for the back if you want. I'm going to slide forward in the chair, but you're welcome to continue staying in the back of the chair. So remember, the most important thing throughout the whole practice is our good posture and our breathing. If you're having trouble breathing, you're probably working too hard, and that means, step it down a notch. And there should be no pain or discomfort when we're practicing. We always want to be balanced so that we feel stable when we're practicing. And one thing, clothing, I wore this sweater today because I think being a little bit casual, a little bit loose feeling, and of course the sweater is warm. So for winter in Boston, it's kind of cold, and we need to make sure we're properly warmed up when we practice. And that goes for any fitness practice that we do. Anytime we use our bodies, especially if we're stretching or doing movements that work on the joints and require a wider range of motion than we might otherwise, other than just reaching for something on a shelf, then we need to warm up. And that keeps the muscles and joints in better condition, gets the blood circulating, and it's very important. And let's start with a sound. So this is going to be for our voice. We're going to make the sound of Om. And we'll do it with the shape of the mouth. Remember, we have three sounds with our Om sound, and one follows right after the other. So it's as if they're one sound, but we change the shape of the mouth. The sound is slightly different with each shape of the mouth. So it's the ah, as if someone's going to look in our throat, ah, and then the oh, like a fish. The lips are puckering like a dish. And then the final one, we close the mouth and you may really feel the vibration down here in the throat and maybe in the jaw when you do that. Try not to clench the jaw. We close the mouth, the jaw is soft. So we'll do about 30 or 40 seconds of oming. We'll do the first one together, and then please continue on your own so your pace is based on your breath. Please don't follow me. Everybody's breath is going to be slightly different. So tune into your own natural breath, the rhythm of your breath, and add your om to the sound of my om. If we were together in person, we would have a sea of ohms, but it'll just be sort of a small pond, maybe, of ohms. Or maybe a couple of dishes of water that are next to each other, since it's just two of us, really, unless you have somebody with you. So let's inhale. Just take a couple of normal breaths in. Relax the breath. Relax the eyes and the face. You could also close the eyes here. It can be nice. Let's take a breath in together and we'll begin. Relax the face and the eye. Soften the shoulders and the arms and the hands and the fingers. Nice, easy pace for the breath. Relax the jaw, the tongue, and the throat. Last one. Notice the silence around you. And if you're ready, you can open your eyes. Or you can even keep them shut. We're going to start by rocking from side to side. So it's a little bit of a warm-up. Then we're going to warm up all the joints. I want to do a little a review of practices that you could do at home on your own on a daily or at least a regular basis. So remember, the most important thing, or an important thing, is to warm up first. So I like this warm up. It's kind of like walking or marching. So you also could do this standing. So in today's class, what I thought we would do is I'm going to demonstrate things seated. And then if you'd like to try something standing, if there's a standing version, I'll try to demonstrate that. So there's this walking back and forth like this, just like walking. And you have a choice here, actually, which way your arms are swinging. You could do the opposite, hand and arm, or you could do the same side if you wanted. So this is the same side, and this is opposite, like this. And depending on how you're leaning over, that also has an effect. It feels our balance. We could even challenge our balance with leaning over a little more. Just be careful not to fall out of the chair. If you're concerned about balance, please have a chair that has arms on it. Don't leave yourself unbalanced. You could even, if you wanted to, put your hands on the seat of the chair like this. If you didn't have arms and you wanted to lean a little more maybe and keep yourself more balanced, create arms with your arms. And then the other way to do it, so keep going in your chair, but if you'd like to do it standing, right, you could stand up like this. And of course, we have chairs, so you could walk behind your chair and work like this. You could even work with one hand on the chair like this, or even both hands. Notice I'm not leaning. So even though we call this chair yoga, the chair is really a prop. It's not so much like a crutch that's holding us up. It's really to help us with balance. So if you have to lean on the chair like this in order to not fall over, you probably should be in a chair. But if your balance is pretty good, you can use your hands on the chair for a little extra. And of course, if you want to go a little faster, that'll warm you up a little bit more. And you can always adjust your temperature with your layers. Undoing something. If you have layers on, take one layer off. And then if you get cold, you can put it back on. So remember, keep it handy because at the end, you will want to put it back on. We don't want to be cold when we do our final relaxation at the end. And sitting up nice and tall. So we should be a little bit warmer. So we're going to start with the hands, opening and closing the palms like this. And when I open and close, there's notice that the fingers move apart, but there's a softness in the palm, a softness in especially the underside of the fingers and the palm. So I'm not like this. I'm not. That is. So we have lion pose that we do where we stick our tongue out, and we tense everything up, but this is not lion pose. So this is a opening and closing. And as you do this, think about extending the spine up. Keep that length. I'll turn sideways. Remember the 3 curves that we want in the back. We want to curve in, down where the lumbar is, curve out up here, and a curve in the cervical spine, right at between the skull and the shoulder. And then we'll circle around, still keeping the hands soft here. And if you wanted to, you could even, I'll slow down so you can see, you could do the fingers and the wrists at the same time like this. So I'm opening, and then as my hands are circling, I'm closing. And I'm doing it rhythmically if I can, so that my hands are opening in the same part of the circle each time. Then we're going to change directions. And if you'd like a little bit, if you're seated for this, remember you could do this standing. Let me stand up. So we can do this standing like this. But if you're seated, you could potentially use a block between the thighs or a rolled up towel, a rolled up, probably a hand towel. Bath towel's probably too big. But just enough to engage the inner thighs here. And that's going to help firm up everything down here. So we're circling and then arms out and then touching the shoulders. And then as you touch the shoulders, begin to slowly lift the elbows at the same time. So my hands are going to stop touching the legs because my elbows are getting higher. I'm not going to go any higher than is comfortable. So at some point, if you start to get discomfort, if you find that your shoulders are way up like this or really uncomfortable, then that's your limit. Please don't go further than that. And try to keep the face pointed straight ahead. And then start to slowly bring the elbows down. Almost like jacking up you have a jack on your car and you pump it up and down to get to lift the bumper up. This is kind of like that. That's what it reminds me of anyway. And then finally my hands are going to touch the knees again. And I've still got that length in the spine. If you need to, when you're seated, remember, use the back of the chair. If you start slumping. And then lowering down, then roll the shoulders. You can also give a little sigh, a little, our yoga practice should feel good for us. If you're not feeling good about it, if it's not feeling good for you, then try a little less effort, a little more freedom of movement. So we're trying to get rid of tension when we do this stuff. Let's go the other way. Actually, let's circle the other way with one shoulder at a time, kind of like we're swimming. And actually, let's add our swimming to it. So we reach out. So we can start off small with a small reach. Notice how the hands coming across the center line of the body and coming down the outside of the other leg. And notice how the abdomen is turning. And because the abdomen is turning, the shoulders are turning. And because the shoulders are turning, the head is turning on top. I'm actually not trying to turn the head here. And if you want to, you can close the eyes here. So you're not tempted, I'm not looking, I'm not trying to see how far back I can look. It's not a great idea for the neck. So for many of us, the neck is an area where it can cause problems if we overlook to the side. We'll strain the neck. We don't want to do that. And let's do backstroke. Let's go the other way. And this is a little bit the same in that the belly is turning slightly. Might not get as much turning as with the forward stroke. Perhaps thinking about moving the elbow back behind you. Elbows moving back. And then bringing the arms down. And I'm just going to put my block down. So you're welcome to keep the block there while we're seated. And sitting up nice and tall and lengthening the chin up slightly. And then let the head nod. Almost like we're saying yes. Nodding our head yes. Oh, excuse me. And then we'll massage our ears. Working our way up the outside edge of the ear. I'll get a little closer so you can see. Working our way up the outside of the ear, just giving it a little squeeze, a little massage going up and then down. And then we're going to gently squeeze and pull. So there's no pain here. It actually just sort of feels like somebody's gently tugging your ear out, like they're trying to give you bigger ears. I'm not sure we need bigger ears, but maybe for some people. And then we're going to turn the head. Turning the head. Let's add the arms here. So letting the hands, let the hands be sort of together right in the front. They don't have to touch, although they could touch if you prefer. You could have the hands, you could experiment even. You could put one hand on top of the other, move it back, have the head follow it. And then you could try them separate and move them back and forth. So they're really moving together, but they're not touching. And it feels a little different. You get a little different feeling of this. Seems to move a little more freely with the hands separate, but a little more stability with the hands together like this. And let's circle around. So letting the head kind of a spiral with the hands. The hands are getting the circles are getting bigger as we spiral out. And let's go the opposite way. And then begin to make the circles smaller as we spiral in. And you could do this with the eyes closed or open here. And then bringing the hands down. Take a couple of breaths. And then let's slide forward in our chairs. Actually, let's do this. So we'll do, if you're standing, just as a review, we started with the fingers, worked our way up to the shoulders and the neck. Now we're going to start down at the feet and work our way. So if you're standing, you'll want to sit down for this, because I don't think you can lift both feet up and circle the ankles while you're standing. And circling the ankles around and then back the other way. Remembering to keep the knees. We don't want to be doing this. So the knees aren't moving. If you need to, rest your hands on the knees so they stay in one place. Knees are not moving here. Just the ankles. And it's interesting because sometimes we We move certain parts of the body together. We have certain movements that we make that are based on, we don't usually just move one joint at a time. And this makes us isolate the ankles, and it can feel a little bit a little more challenging because we don't do it this way. And let's circle the wrists at the same time if you want. Remembering to sit up tall, so extending the spine up as you're doing this. And this is a good action to build core strength here. So we want to be firm in the belly. So move the navel back slightly towards the spine. So there's a firmness here. So if you tap on your belly, you feel there's a firmness. It's not rock hard, but it's firm. The belly's not sticking out like this. And even though there's a firmness here, we're still breathing down into the belly. And what happens is when we have the firmness in the front, the other parts of the body expand a little bit more. We don't just have the belly breathing. And we'll lower down and we're going to rock the feet. So we're rocking just like a rocking chair. That's our feet were like a rocking chair. And we can add the hands like this, or the wrists, really. The wrists, and even the elbows. Think about the elbows. The hands are coming forward and back. And you might even notice underneath here, underneath your buttocks, there's a little rocking. So as my hands come forward, I lean slightly forward. And as they come back, I lean back. And the spine is still lengthened here. Don't let the back round like this when you go back. We're rocking back, but keeping the lengthening in the back. And that helps the belly here. When we lean back and keep length, we have to use the musculature all along the front here to keep us from falling backwards. And then we're going to lower the feet back down, lower the hands down. And let's lift and spread the toes. So notice it may be hard to see this. So I'll take one sock off. But it's cold. It's cold for my foot. So there's my foot is just sitting there, and then I'm lifting my toes up like this. So I'm using the muscles on the top of the foot to lift the toes up. You could even do it with the fingers too. It's a nice way to practice. Think of this, they're doing the same thing. My hand and my foot are doing the same thing. They're going up and then down. Up. Of course, my fingers go down a lot more. My toes don't, we could curl our toes under, I guess. You could try that. I find that if I curled my toes too much, though, I get kind of cramping down there on the toes. It's not as comfortable as I would like. So I usually work with the foot flat, just lift the toes up. But you could experiment with the curling. Just don't over curl. Try it just a little bit. And a couple more times. And remember, you can always stop doing what we're doing here. You can always rest. If you don't like what we're doing, if it's not, doesn't feel right, then please don't do it. And then go ahead and rest the feet and sit up nice and tall. So let's see, so we did the feet, we did the ankles, let's do the knees. We're going to tap one knee, and then we're going to lift that knee up. So just lift it up like this. And using the musculature right here. All these muscles tighten here to lift the knee up. Notice my foot's dangling. It's not really doing anything. And then I'm going to swing it like a pendulum. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see. I did change feet, but you don't need to. So I'm swinging my foot like a pendulum. I'm trying to get so there's some ease here. I could even add my hand like this, or both hands like this. And then I have to remember to sit up tall. And for me, I'm having to lean back a little bit because I'm off balance like this. It's better if, for this particular one, if you're probably using the back of the chair, unless you really want to be working really hard for your core muscles here. If this is really easy, then maybe that's for you. But if it's challenging to lift the knee up and swing, then go ahead and use the back of the chair. Keeping the alignment, hip, knee, toes are straight ahead. And then we're going to change sides. We'll tap the other knee, we'll lift it up. So lift up first, hold it there for a moment. The foot only needs to be about just a little off the floor, just enough to clear the floor, and then swing. We can swing back and forth with the fingers too if we want. And then we'll lower back down. And we'll do some leg lifting. So we'll start out with a little bit of flexion in the ankle. So a little, they call it plantar flexion and dorsiflexion like this. So this sort of flexion in the ankle back and forth is important for us to be able to walk with ease. If we lose the flexibility in our ankle, it's very hard to walk. It's particularly hard to lift your foot up, let's say for a stair or for a curb, and then put that one down, and let's lift the other one up. Let's flex the ankle. So this is a good exercise if you can do it every day, especially if your movement is limited because you just don't get out as much as you used to. And that's true for most of us. It's true for most of us. So unless you've got a treadmill that you use regularly, or some way to walk, or you live in the country and there's no one around and there's no snow, we need more walking, more ambulation like this. And then sitting up nice and tall, and then lifting the leg up and then down. So do it a couple of times on each side. Feel what it feels like to contract the thigh here and just lift the foot up. If you have your hand, your palm on the quadriceps, you'll feel it under there. And now as you lift up, pull the toes back, flex the ankle by pulling the toes back. And the heel feels like it's moving away. Heel feels like it's moving away from you, away from the chair. And sitting up nice and tall. So notice when you take one foot away, there's a tendency to lose just a little bit of that elongation in the spine. So see if you can maintain that elongation by activating the belly. So the navel's moving back slightly. Bring that firmness here, and using the spinal muscles to extend the spine, or at least keep it lifted. So we're going back and forth. And you can make this more challenging by going slower, or a little less challenging. If that's hard, go a little faster, so you're not having to hold the leg up. And also maybe you're not lifting the foot quite as high. But try to pull the toes back a little bit anyway. We don't want to pull the toes back too much, but we want to pull them back, start to pull them back so we stretch the underside of the leg. And if you'd like a little bit more, you can add the arm to it, as if they're going together. And you could do the opposite arm or the same side arm, your choice. And notice that we lose a little bit more in the spine when we lift the arm up. We're starting to challenge ourselves by taking away our support, by doing more. So we need to know where and when to stop with that and stay with what we're doing. So everybody's a little different. So some people may just be working with one leg, lifting slightly. And if that feels like good work for you, then that's a good place to be. Thinking about keeping the spine long. If you're trying to do more and your spine is collapsing and rounding, then please go back and do less. We always want to feel like we're doing something but not overdoing. And then bringing the feet down and resting for a moment. We're going to come back. We're going to do leg lifts again. And you have the choice this time of doing a double leg lift if you want. So we were doing single leg lifts. So we'll start out with that. And then if that feels easy for you, you could try double leg lifts. And for me, I notice that I don't get as much lift in my feet. I can go higher with a single leg lift than I can with a double. And part of that is the limitations of the musculoskeletal system. You know, whenever we have two things going at once, because our sides aren't exactly the same, we get some more limitations. So you could even do the arms too if you wanted. Definitely more challenging. But we don't want any pain in the back. We don't want any pain in the shoulders. We don't want any pain down the legs or in the knees. So if you're getting any discomfort or pain anywhere, go back to the other things that we were doing, even if it's just the single leg lifts. Do it regularly, and over time you'll get stronger and you'll have an easier time, and then you can start to add the stuff to it, whether it's lifting the leg slightly higher, whether it's going slower, whether it's adding an arm to it, or whether it's double legs. And then go ahead and come on down. And of course, you can always rest. You can always take a break for a moment, or as long as you want, until the breath comes back to normal. So we don't want to be winded. We don't want to be winded. We want the breath to be nice and smooth, even though we're working. Even though we're working. And we always want to make sure we're not holding the breath. Usually that's a sign of overdoing tension, and we want to avoid that. We want to balance ease and effort. Ease and effort. In yoga, we refer to that, in Sanskrit, we refer to that as sthira sukham asanam. So our asanas, that's our postures, are ease and effort together, balanced. Take a couple of breaths. Let's just do a few cactus breaths like this. Inhale and exhale. Remember, if you're warm, then try, taking off one of your layers. You could even take a sip of water, especially if your throat's dry. And then we're going to slide forward. I'm going to do some circles. So we're circling around. And this is the first part of our circle. Shoulders are moving in a circle. The weight's moving underneath us. We can feel the weight shifting from one foot to one buttock to the other foot, going in the circle. And if you want to have more of a challenge, you can make the circles bigger so that you're leaning forward and back and to the side more. You can remove the hands. That makes it a little harder. You can even circle the hands around. And you can even circle the hands above. Just make sure that there's no pain or discomfort. We can support. The spine is still supported here. I can still extend my spine when I do this. We're going to go the other way. If you start to collapse like this, your spine is collapsing, then obviously you need more support. Try bringing the hands back down. You could even try, one hand too, one-handed maybe. Just make sure you try switching periodically. So you got one side if you need the support. You could even, if you wanted, have your chair in front of you and have your hands out here for your chair like this. That might be another way to practice. And then you could adjust how much support you get from the chair by the fingertips and sitting up nice and tall. A couple of breaths. So I think we covered warming up all the joints in the body. We started with the fingers, worked up here to the neck, and then we started down at the feet, and we worked our way up to the torso. So let's bend the spine in 6 ways. So inhaling and exhaling. So some people call this seated cat and cow, or seated seated cow and camel. I've heard it called. I heard that called recently. camel, I guess a little bit of a rounding of the back. Thinking about lifting the heart forward and then back. So as I inhale, my heart's lifting, chin lifts up slightly. And as I exhale, the heart moves back and there's a slight rounding in the upper back. I want to do this and still keep the spine extended. So the movement is not a big movement. It's a relatively small movement. And we can notice when we move the thoracic spine, this area between the shoulder blades, we also get movement up in the neck, down the lumbar spine, and underneath us in the sitting bones, as well as the chin. So the chin is following the neck. So everything's interconnected. There's actually, we have that system, that fascia system, or the fascia that covers the whole body, and it actually runs, there's fascia that runs from the up around the skull all the way down to the feet, almost like a sort of a shrink wrap that runs along the whole back of the body and the whole front of the body. And that also, it also limits our mobility, that fascia. So sometimes, and the fascia is a relatively newer idea with anatomy, but it does exist because, when they look at bodies, when they've looked at anatomy, they actually see it, and they've taken so that they can see the entire system of fascia in the body. It's really fascinating. If you're interested, you can look it up online. So sitting up nice and tall, and then we're going to bring the hands up and we're going to reach up. So that was flexion and extension. Now we're going to go from side to side. So I'm getting a little bending here with the armpit and the ribs opening. So there's a slight bending, a little bit more extension up than bending. Extension up. So notice when I extend up, this area gets really long here compared to the other side. So I'm getting a little extra length, the opening. The length is going to create an opening between the ribs. So that's our stretching. And when the ribs can open more, the lungs can open more. The lungs are limited by our ribs' ability to expand or to stretch apart from each other. So if we want to increase our lung capacity, we need to have our ribs capacity increased. And then we're going to inhale, and we'll bring the elbows like this, and we're going to do a little turning. And it might be nice to close the eyes here. Don't worry about the head, how far you're turning the head. Just let the head sit on top of the shoulders here. Think about moving the elbow back, and then as you move the elbow back, feel the lengthening across the diagonal from the hip to the opposite shoulder. Hip to the opposite shoulder. And then bring the arms down. So roll the shoulders a couple of times. So we're going to do a few what would traditionally be standing poses that we'll do first in our chair, and then we'll do them standing. So the first one we'll do is tree pose. We've done this, I think, a fair amount. And if you'd like to, if you don't want to do it in the chair and you'd only prefer to do tree standing, you can certainly do that if you know it. But I'm going to teach it seated first, sitting up in our mountain pose. So become balanced, left and right side, and then go ahead and open the leg, open the groin here, and step the foot out. So the toes are pointing towards the side of the room. And then find your balance there. So we have this, we can feel the buttocks, the sitting bones are not straight ahead anymore. One is turned out to the side. And then go ahead and lift, come up with the heel on that, the foot that's pointing to the side. Lift the heel up and go up and down a couple of times. Thinking about moving the weight a little bit in the direction of the toes that are pointing forward. So as if we could lift up this other foot. You could even try that. Just go ahead and lift the foot slightly off the floor and then put it back down. Notice how we start to slump a little. So think about extending up and then try it again, lifting up. Keep the extension up, lengthening up, firm up the belly. The belly's going to help support the spine. And then go ahead and walk the sole of the foot in, and go ahead and the sole of the foot is going to be on the leg of the chair like this. Sitting up nice and tall, lengthening the spine. You could also, if you wanted to, you could work with the heel raised out here. So your choice there. And if you want, you can extend the arms up. Extend the arms up. And take a couple of nice full breaths. Keeping the shoulders relaxed. So if the shoulders are bunching up towards the ears, lower the arms down a little. You can even work with the hands like this. We don't want the shoulders to be way up here. We want the shoulders to be relaxed. They're going to move up a little. And then we'll go ahead and lower the arms down and then step the foot back. And then come back to mountain pose. Find yourself even. And then go ahead and step the other foot. The other leg opens. The groin opens like this. And then go ahead and lift the heel up. So we're shifting the weight into the side of the leg that's the toes are pointed straight ahead. You could try lifting the toes up. Notice how we maybe lean a little bit and we start to lose some of the length. So we need to firm everything up, lengthen the spine up, and then try it again. Firm up. You'll notice things start to really, you have to really tighten and a little effort here in the core. And then you can bring the sole of the foot on the inside of the leg. And then when you're ready, you can extend the arms out, extending the spine up at the same time, pressing the front foot down slightly. So there's a firmness in the leg here, and that's going to help give us a feeling of lifting up. A couple of breaths. You can even give a sigh if you want. You could even, so for this one, you might even try closing the eyes if you're seated and see what it feels like to press that front foot down, extend the spine up, and feel that other leg turned out. So we're really kind of balancing on one half of the body more than the other. And then go ahead whenever you're ready, you can come down. And so remember, you can always come down out of the pose, come back to mountain pose. So you can do the pose again, just like we did. Or if you like to stand up, we can stand up now. If you are standing and there's any balance issues, please have your chair handy. I'll move mine to the side so you can see. So we'll come into our mountain pose. And then soften the knees slightly and straighten. Soften and straighten. If you're seated, gently press the feet down into the floor for an isometric contraction of the quadriceps. And then we'll inhale, extend the spine up, and then we're going to open that leg to the side again and come to the ball, the foot on the floor. And notice how the weight shifts into the leg, into the opposite leg, and extend the spine up. And then we can bring the sole of the foot in to create our tree, to create our single trunk tree. And then we can add the arms if we want. Extending the spine up, breathing normally, breathing naturally. And if we need to, we can come down, touch, and come back up. There's nothing wrong with that. Always good. You could even do that as your own practice, to slowly come down, touch, and come back up. And then whenever you're ready, you can lower down and come back to mountain pose. We'll do the other side now. So come back to your mountain pose, feeling even on each side, and then extending the spine up. And then we're going to turn and open the leg, ball the foot, and we can touch a couple of times. Press the opposite foot down, the straight leg foot down, and extend the spine up. So make sure you have a little effort going into lifting, keeping the spine lifted, keeping the spinal muscles elongated, And then if you're ready, you can bring the sole of the foot to the leg of the chair or to your own leg. Don't put it on the knee though. Remember, we don't want to press the knee out, pressing the standing leg down firmly, and then we can add our arms. And you can always bring that toe down for support. Remembering to breathe, extending up, see if you can get a little taller without the shoulders going too high up. So shoulders stay relaxed. You can always bring the arms down. And then we'll bring the arms down, bring the foot down, come back to our mountain pose. Find balance in mountain pose, and then we'll swing the arms side to side as our coat sleeves back and forth. Keeping the knees soft here so they bend a little bit. I'm not trying to bend them. They just sort of naturally bend if I keep them soft. And I've got the buttocks working and also the quadriceps working. So it's almost like I'm shifting my weight, and there's a firmness still in the buttocks as I'm letting my waist turn. And then I'm going to go ahead and sit down. And I'm going to inhale and exhale. So let's take a few breaths. We'll add our sun breath, our inhaling and exhaling. Inhale and exhale. Perhaps this is a little easier now that we've been practicing for a little bit. Or maybe you get a little bit bigger circles with ease. You still want to have ease. And let's go the other way. Drop the hands, inhaling up and circling around. And then bringing the arms down. Then we're going to hold one arm out. And we're going to bring the hand somewhere towards the opposite side of the body. So you could work down around the tricep, or you could work up where the shoulder is like this. We're going to sit up nice and tall, and we're going to turn towards the arm that's wrapped around us like this. Just a little bit with the neck, just a slight turn. Think about moving the chin a little bit rather than the whole head. Or perhaps the nose. Think about moving the nose to the side. With some ease, we want this to feel easy, and then we're going to release the arm down, and then we're going to do the other side. We're going to just drape the hand somewhere on the opposite side. Sit up nice and tall, get length in the spine first, and then go ahead and turn the head slightly to the side. So there's no forcing here. I'm not trying to crank the head. I'm just gently letting it turn. And I'm doing it in a relaxed way so that each time you may notice that it becomes a little easier. So without any effort, you get a little bit more turning. Without effort, that's the key. And then we'll go ahead and come back to the front, release the hands. We're going to roll the shoulders. And then the other way. Let's settle back into our Shavasana. So you may want to take something for warmth. We may want to put clothes back on if you've taken any clothes off, so that you stay warm during Shavasana. It's very important. It's hard to relax if we're shivering. If we're cold, the body's response is to shiver, to create heat. And when we do that, well, that's tension and hard to relax the body when it's doing that. So we're gonna do our Shavasana like we normally do it, We'll stay together for a brief period, and then I welcome you to stay a little longer, perhaps 5 minutes, if you can. If you can spare the time, try 5, even 10 minutes if you can spare the time. It's like an investment in the rest of the day, an investment in the rest of your life. Because Shavasana is really, it teaches us to be able to relax. Sitting up nice and tall, feeling balanced. Shoulders are relaxed, face and eyes are relaxed. Breathing naturally. Feeling the belly moving a little bit with the breath, and feeling the body softening, the eyes and the face, relaxing the jaw and the tongue and the throat, releasing the shoulders and the arms and the hands, letting go of the back, letting go of the front of the body, relaxing the pelvis and the hips, softening the legs and the feet and the ankles. We'll continue like this for a short time. I'll tap the bell, and that will formally end our class for today. And please, if you have a few minutes, stay a little longer in your Shavasana, as long as you like. I'll see everyone next week.